Said, hey y'all, what up? This is Maraya Karena coming at you live from the islands. It's 2013, baby. What it do, what it do. I'm playing my beach game, which is where we look at people on the beach and try to look at them without any judgment. I'm also playing my other beach game where I grab handfuls of sand to make my hands stronger. So we have gone through the middle of the solstice, which means we are moving from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age, away from the shadow aspects of Pisces, which is this escapist addict with no boundaries, into the exalted aspects of Aquarius, which is this eccentric inventor creating the new cooperative society. You know, for a while I've been living now on the straight and narrow path, especially when I was in this massage program. There was no sex, drugs, or rock and roll, no caffeine or free time, living my whole life as a prayer, every step is a prayer, drinking enough water, in bed by 10 o'clock, giving 2 massage sessions a day, trying to be so good all the time. It was great, and it's done, and now I'm finished with my program, and there's this huge part of me that wants to maintain the vibration, the level of consciousness that I'm at, and wants to preserve what I've learned about being in my integrity and in my center. And there's this other part of me that wants to rebel hard. I want to eat handfuls of drugs and fuck a gang member in the back of a stolen pickup truck that we're driving through the gates of the San Francisco Zoo to free the tigers. And I want to gorge myself on ice cream and cereal and wrap myself in a nest of blankets and watch shitty TV for forever. I want to watch shitty TV and eat ice cream forever. And I want to thrash and run and hide and say fuck you, but there's nowhere to run and there's nowhere to hide because everywhere I go, there I am. Run from what? Hide from who? Carolyn Mice, she does a lot of work with archetypes. And she says that within us we all have 4 archetypes. And the first is the child, because we've all been children before. Another is the victim, because especially before the 2012 portal, we all lived within a victim paradigm where we believe that reality is something that happens to us as opposed to understanding the ways in which we create our own reality. The next is the prostitute, because one of the symptoms of living within a victim paradigm is that we believe there are ways that we have to compromise ourselves in order to survive. It's not necessarily sex, but that we, in some way, have to compromise our integrity in order to get what we need. Fourth is the Sabatour. The Sabatour! And the Sabatour is that part of ourselves that tries to take us down. It's the part that says you're not really so smart, and you're not really special, and you're not really anything. She called it a survival archetype because she said that back in tribal days, if you exceeded the tribe too much, it was not good for the tribe, that there are ways that everyone would try to keep each other down at a general base level in order to assure harmony, in order to tamp down progress so things didn't move too quickly. And in this book Carolyn Mice wrote called Sacred Contracts, she says that you have these 4 survival archetypes, and then she has this whole library in the back of the book where you get to choose 8 other archetypes that you think you have within you. And one of those archetypes is the rebel. Part of the way that she thinks that these archetypes work is that we key into their energy. And there's this way that we act from those archetypes. So in her way of using the language of archetypes to learn more about yourself, she says you should think, when am I acting from my prostitute? Right? When am I channeling the energy of the rebel? And what's interesting about the rebel is that the rebel is acting against the existing society, but doesn't yet have the personal power to overcome that which they're acting out against. It's kind of like sarcasm. You know, I was teaching poetry at this middle school for a while, and I was so struck by how much the kids spoke in sarcasm. It was almost like a language of sarcasm. It made me realize that one of the things about sarcasm is that you're parroting what your social conditioning would have you say. It's almost like there's a cultural void where the voice of your cultural conditioning would say this, and yet you disagree and don't want to say that yourself. So what you do, but that voice is coming through you so strong that what you do is you say what your cultural conditioning would say with a tone to imply that you disagree with it. You're rebelling against what you've been socialized into, but you don't yet have the personal power to create what you yourself would say instead. It's a stage of development, and it's also a really safe place to be. Finding yourself against something without having to take the responsibility or the initiative to create your own. You know, it's kind of like high school. You give the institution power over you, and yet you free yourself from the responsibility to take initiative to either change the existing institution, which is more the archetype of the activist, or to create your own, which is more the archetype of the artist. And I think this is why we often look back on high school fondly, regardless of our feelings at the time. Because either the system was laid out for us and we played the game, or the system was laid out for us and we bonded with others over our feelings about how shitty that system was, and we played the same game in a different way. And in either case, we were free from the responsibility of designing our own board, of creating our own rules, of taking ownership of our lives and our circumstances, because we were acting within an existing institution. There is an element of the rebel that is adolescent. One of my astrology teachers, Kelly Lee Phipps, he associates the archetype of the rebel with Aquarius, and yet all things move in cycles. And so the rebel is one stage in the development of this Aquarian archetype. And so now the rebel continues beyond high school. And when it's no longer supported within a safe institution, when there's no longer a set of circumstances to rebel against, when there's only you responsible for yourself and your life in the world, the rebel becomes the saboteur. And I have a lot of friends who've fallen into addiction. And one of my friends even said to me the other day, in a society this sick, it's the sick ones who are healthy. This is the rebel collapsing into the saboteur. This is a powerless rebel in a powerful world. The universe makes your circumstances harder and harder in order to push you to grow. And I think this is what we see with addiction, is that it's pushing you in this downward spiral until you decide to take the initiative for your own life, for your health, and go on what I believe is the most transcendent journey around. And it is nothing less than the journey to come to love yourself, to come to believe that you are worthy of living it all. So the question becomes, how can you raise the harmonic of the rebel when you feel yourself acting from it into the next developmental steps of Aquarius, which is the inventor, the philanthropist, the humanitarian, the creator of culture. The reason why I want to rebel in the first place is because I don't want that responsibility. That's exactly what I'm trying to run from. I don't want to do my laundry. I don't want to brush my teeth. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to eat right. I don't want to answer my email. I seem to have exhausted some of my hyphy desires, like drinking. I don't want to drink anymore, or wander around foreign countries, or go chasing people for affection who are emotionally unavailable. I still do have a little bit more of my depressive desires, which is gluttony, sloth, escapism. My feeling is that going too far in one direction will always leave you longing for the other. The pendulum swings this way, the pendulum swings back. That it's our own cycles of experience and desire that move us towards the middle path. My friends Annie and Boris, they have this thing they call the sacred crunk, and it's an axis between sacred and crunk. And it's about finding that sweet spot. It's about finding that middle path for what's right for you in this moment between sacred and crunk. I guess I got a little too sacred there, and now I want to get a little crunk. And if my old ways of getting crunk no longer match the patterns of my desire, then I guess I have to take just a little bit of responsibility and find new ones. And maybe I can find ones that have just a bit of the humanitarian in them. Maybe I can find ones that contribute just a bit to this Aquarian age. So much aloha from the islands, you guys. You know, regardless of the ups and downs, this life is good. There are coconuts, there are waves, somewhere the sun is shining. Aloha no. Oh, bougainvillea. If I was a bee, I would hump the shit out of you. And it would be so unsatisfying because you are only beautiful leaves with a tiny flower. Although maybe if I was a bee, I would know that.